did a pretty fair job at the
He
podium
seemed
myself.
human. He seemed like a normal human being for the first time ever.
And it wasn't just coach speak. It's always going to be coach speak, but it wasn't like to a ridiculous. And there was some authenticity there. There was some meat on the bone.
As I wrote on Monday.
He talked up his quarterback a lot. Sounds like he's very excited about Cade McNamara. He talked about how in spring practice, after the first practice, he got everybody together and said, "Did you feel that?" And the idea was we had a very productive work day today. We had energy. We ran around. We got things done. He said, let's channel that and let's do it again. In his mind, he thought every day they practiced in the spring was at a new level for them where it needs to be. And I think that is the first step back toward respectability, is achieving, having standards and living up to them every day. They have not done that for years there. So, I mean, you get to Saturday and it's a total letdown. I mean, we've talked about it early in the season. They've gotten knocked out of the box. And when that happens, it's kind of like, you know, what are you playing for? When you lose to Wisconsin by 3 touchdowns in September every other year, what are you playing for? You lose to Notre Dame by a couple touchdowns in September. What's there left, you know, to do? So I don't know. It to me, he seemed like he had a little bit more oomph, which they need all the oomph they can get.
Yeah, as I wrote on Monday, he wasn't adversarial, which is kind of new because he has been in the past at these things. So that for me showed he's, you know, got more passion, more energy, or it's directed in the right way. And I think the coaching changes has helped. So I was impressed as well. Now, it may mean nothing in week 2 against Washington, or week 1, whenever that is, against Washington, and they may start out 3-5 or whatever. But, you know, it was a better July than he's had in previous Julys.
Well, I just think with these media days, you have to sort your way through volumes and volumes of just coach speak, typically from almost all of them. So you get very little to go on. And with him, number one, as Steve pointed out, there's usually a cringeworthy moment in there somewhere. He avoided that. It wasn't awkward and clumsy. It was decent. And he also talked about his defensive staff and actually gave you something that they're getting in the room together, and there are arguments and they work things through. He kind of depicted that. He also talked about why Mike McDonald was a good addition to the defensive coordinator position, that he saw him revamp the entire Baltimore defense on the fly and keep things going. Made a good evaluation about his staff being able to identify player strengths and weaknesses and put them in the right place. And I thought he answered the Ohio State question as well as could be answered. You know, he's in a no-win situation. You know, somebody asked about, okay, you haven't won a championship, you haven't beaten Ohio State. Okay. And he gave the cute little story about he and his daughter climbing the mountain, and that they have that DNA that they don't quit. And basically he didn't guarantee a win against Ohio State. He said, we will beat them or we'll die trying, which don't know if that's a great forecast on his future, but regardless, I thought he did about as well as he could.
This is something that Clay Hall, who is Channel 6 here in Columbus, tweeted at the Big Ten Media Days. Said OSU AD Gene Smith was on Big Ten Advisory Committee when the league commissioner was being researched and vetted. Kevin Warren's name was not on the list submitted to Big Ten presidents by the committee.
Where'd they come up with him from? That's weird.
I don't know. The list should have been one person, and that was Jim Phillips of Northwestern, who's now with the ACC. But
yeah, I'm guessing he was vetted very well. I'm Phillips, at least. This the Kevin Warren thing. Like, I don't, and nobody has, you know, like, I'm surprised it hasn't, we've talked about it on our various podcasts, but yeah, that was kind of went under the radar in terms of how is that possible and how did that happen? And maybe more people need to like work on getting to the bottom of that to see how exactly did this happen, because you see the results and you know, they're not great.